Hi everyone, Flora here. So after yesterday's video, I was amazed at how many people reached out to me and said, oh my gosh, yes, this makes so much sense. And I read stories and stories and stories that you've all sent me about how you have given and given and given to people that just don't value what you give. And my heart totally goes out to you because I've been there. It is painful to give to people that don't value your worth and value who you are as a person. And it deeply impacts your level of happiness, and it deeply impacts your courage and your confidence and the clarity that you have in your life and how to move forward in anything. And I truly feel that this is one of the reasons why so many people feel stuck, because they've given so much to people that don't value what it is that they have to give. And that does a huge number on confidence and a huge number on self-worth. And so if your confidence is shot and your self-worth is low, well, of course you're going to feel stuck. And of course you're going to feel unsure as to what to do next, right? So today I want to share with you something that I know in the bottom of my heart that is a must-have if you want to be happy and you want to have any type of life satisfaction. That one thing is boundaries, okay? Boundaries. What is a boundary? Well, a boundary essentially is a line, kind of an energetic and emotional line that we put in the sand, and we say, you can do this up to this point, and then once you get to this point, I'm no longer okay with this. A super simple illustration of boundaries is look at the roadway, okay? When you take your car and you're driving, there is a stop sign. That's a boundary. There is the center line. That tells you whether you can pass or not pass, and whether the people coming to you can pass or not pass and whatnot. And so, way back in the day, whenever it was horse and buggy, I don't know how often people, had head-on collisions, but probably not too often. Now, with the invention of vehicles, that became a problem because people were just on the road and they just kept driving. And, like the, big, huge Ford was like, oh, well, I'm here first. And then like the horse and buggy is like, okay, well, I'm not moving over because I don't want to break a wheel. And so there was a lot of really gruesome accidents way back in the day. So lawmakers were like, okay, so we need to kind of create a set of boundaries or rules for people on the roadway. And so what did they do? Okay, you drive on the right side, you drive on the left side, or vice versa. And when there's an intersection, they didn't used to have stop signs, now they do, or yield signs. And all of these things, like safety belts and windscreens and all these other things, all of these things were created out of a necessity because someone crossed a certain boundary or a certain threshold and someone else got hurt, or someone else says, oh, that's not okay. A lot of people, when they're in relationships, don't usually know what boundaries are until they're crossed or until they're discussed. Now, early on in relationships, like high school, stuff like that, you don't really know what you like, what you don't like in relationships until you experience it and you're just like, yeah, I really don't like this. Well, the problem is most people, when someone crosses a boundary or does something that you don't particularly like, most people don't say anything because they don't want to ruffle feathers or they don't want to make someone mad. Therefore, they put up with some things that they don't like, and then all of a sudden, after a couple years, they're finally fed up with it, and then they say something, and then the other person's like, well, why didn't you say something? Because you didn't want to ruffle feathers, okay? So, when you can start to formulate a boundary in your mind, like, I don't like when someone does this, or this is my idea of this, and whatever situation that you want to apply this to, with relationships, with money, with sex, with whatever, look at what your personal comfort level is and, create a set of boundaries. Now, what's a good, healthy boundary for you might not be a good, healthy boundary for someone else. looking at this in the business aspect, do you have a set of boundaries created for your business? A lot of people that watch my videos are coaches. A lot of coaches that I see who just start out, and I know I was one of these coaches where you just want to help everybody. And so when someone contacts you for a session, you're just like, okay, yay, when? And then you just have sessions all over the board. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's one of the easiest ways to get burnt out. And so if you are a coach and you don't have boundaries set up in your business, one of the first things I would recommend is that you set a set of working hours. Okay, what are my working hours? Is it Monday through Friday? Is it Wednesday through Sunday? What is it? Is it 8 to 4, 9 to 5? Is it, 10 to 2? When do you want to work? When do you want to be available for the public? All right. Now, another thing with coaching, and we talk about this all inside the Mastermind Mafia and in my private sessions, is you have to leave time not just for client communication where you're working one-on-one with clients, but also content creation with planning and strategy and meeting with your own coach and meeting with your own teams and doing all the other stuff behind the scenes. And what most people do when they, especially as they're first starting out, they just are like, okay, these are my coaching hours or these are my business hours. And they take coaching clients throughout the entire thing. Barely leaving time for strategy and for planning, long-term planning, short-term planning, for holiday planning, for all that other stuff, and for content creation, for brainstorming, for research, for school, for other things that maybe you want to dig deeper in. And so if you feel as a coach that you are scattered and you don't have a good set of boundaries for your business, now's the time to get some. Another thing that I want to talk with you about for boundaries in your business is, who do you work with? I would highly recommend not working with friends or family as a team. Having your team be an outside source of people, because I've never seen friends or family work out in business. And this is one of the things that I've experienced, and also my mentors who have built million and billion dollar businesses. We've all said the same thing and we've all experienced the same thing. It can kind of be a shit show. Reason being is because friends and family member, they don't have that, or they may not have the same set of boundaries that a professional team does. And they typically aren't in that same mindset or frame of mind that a paid work member would be. Now, I recently had to let someone go I arranged it so that person is no longer working with me, because they saw themselves more as a friend than as a team member. And when I hired that person, it was strictly to be a team member. And lines got blurred to that person. For me, they were still straight, but anytime that I reminded this person of a boundary, they got upset, they pushed back, kind of threw a temper tantrum, and I was like, no, that's not okay with me. And the more that I said, this is my business, these are the boundaries, this is what's going on, that person just really wasn't a good fit for my company anymore. And so we let them go. And this is one of the things, is just allowing yourself to recognize that when you can truly set up boundaries, what you're doing is you are setting up your zone of productivity, your zone of genius, your zone of this is my life, and this is what I want. And if someone doesn't like your boundaries, that's on them, not you. Okay? If you say, okay, so this is what I expect from people in my life as a friend, as a coworker, as someone who's working for me or with me, depending on if they're a partner or just a subcontract, whatever. But get really, really clear about it and just say, this is it. And we're actually going to talk about standards tomorrow. That's too much to go into today. But the thing about this is that when you get really clear on your boundaries, just like the laws of the road, there's no room for error. There's no gray lines. And this is one of the things that I see so many people have so much issue with, is when there's those gray lines and you're not quite sure where you stand, or you're not quite sure where the boundary is. It's a shit show. It truly is a shit show, because one person is constantly testing those boundaries to see how far they can push them. And when the other person says, no, I'm not okay with this. No, I'm not okay with this. Yet the boundary is still gray and it's not a firm boundary. Then what happens is people get burnt out. People get pissed off. People get angry. People's feelings get hurt. And it's not good. So one of the easiest ways to become so much more happier in your life, as we talked about yesterday, is stop giving to people who don't value what it is you have to give. And second, set up boundaries. Things, parameters of saying, this is my happy place and this is not. This is what I expect, this is not. And be very clear with that. And then tell those boundaries to the people involved, okay? Whether it's your life partner or whether it is your team in your company. And you can also tell this to your clients as well. Like, I'm now only taking client calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Boom. That's a clear boundary, all right? So, this might seem a little bit non-essential to a lot of people, but I promise you, if you're struggling in your life, I can guarantee you it's because a boundary has been crossed and you haven't said something. Or you're trying to cross someone else's boundary and you're feeling that pushback and that resistance. And so really give yourself permission to just really look at, are you getting drained energetically? Are you feeling taken advantage of? Are you feeling frustrated and overwhelmed? If you are, look at how or where you're putting your energy, where you're giving your energy, but then also look at your boundaries and do you have them? And if you don't have them, now is the perfect time to set up those boundaries and then stick to them. Okay? All right. I love you all. I hope this message serves you. If you want my private coaching around this particular subject or topic, I am currently taking private clients. And so what I want you to do is click the link below and sign up for a private coaching application session. Now, this is only for people who are really interested in investing in themselves and their future through private coaching. So this is not a coaching session. This is just an exploratory session just to see where you are, where you want to be, and if that fits with my niche. All right, so click the link, let's talk, and I hope that this serves you. Mwah. Bye.